The Yankees and the Blue Jays last night tweeting their game notes, also tweeted facts out about gun violence. So they would put a stat up, and under the stat, they would put something about a fact about gun violence.
Well, the Canadians are pretty, they have a lot of work to do because their gun violence is really lagging behind. Now we've shown them how to do it, and we've made an example of ourselves. And the Canadians and the Mexicans, our neighbors, just don't get the idea. And I don't know what we have to do. They should take a lesson from the second, third, and fourth graders there in Uvalde, Texas, who apparently rubbed blood on themselves and laid with their dead friends to avoid being shot.
Yeah. The one 10 or 11-year-old girl who told CNN this morning didn't want to be on camera, didn't want to talk to a man reporter, but she was afraid.
Wow.
She specifically asked her mother to ask them to have a woman talk to her.
Wow. I did not see the details. I just saw the headline.
So the presence of mind of this young 10-year-old girl, who I immediately think is smarter than 50% of the legislators that we have in Washington.
I'll put her up against Ted Cruz. Put her up against Ted Cruz any day of the week.
Yeah. And she talked about how she was in the classroom. Right in front of her, this guy talked to her teacher and said goodnight, picked up his gun and shot her in the face. And this little girl had the presence of mind. She's lying there on the floor. She's not hit. The girl next to her is bleeding profusely. So she puts her hand in the blood and rubs it on herself so that the shooter, who is still shooting at this moment, will think that he shot her and killed her too. And she's just lying there. How the hell do you recover from that? What psychiatrist do you go to see to come back from that? Where do you take your kid to get that image out of their head for the rest of their lives, for the 70 more years that she might live? Thank God, hopefully.
Vinnie, are these ideas of your own, or did the media and the left-wing libtards plant them in your brain to
No, this isn't left-wing libtards. This is angry me. This is me as pissed off as I've ever been. And I was pretty pissed off after Sandy Hook. But this is me telling people that you can't forget about this. You can't, when the next thing happens tomorrow or tonight or next week, we've already forgotten about Ukraine. We're all talking about Ukraine.
Forgot about Buffalo too.
Ukraine's about as memorable as a fart in the breeze because it's probably safer there for children than it is here.
At least the children there know what's up.
Yeah, I mean, you heard that story. You would think that came from somebody in Ukraine. No, it's somebody in a small town, the place where people move to get away from it all.
The place where 18-year-olds, the first thing they do on their birthday is what?
Go buy a gun.
To get themselves a couple guns, yeah.
And now, I don't know if you saw, did you see the press conference yesterday?
No, I saw highlights where they couldn't figure out what had happened at the beginning of the event.
They sent a guy out yesterday
with nothing.
Who is so absolutely inept and stupid.
He would say yes and no to the same question.
Well, he would tell, yes, exactly. The guy they sent out yesterday, Mikey, you got to look at the press conference.
Well, I saw that press conference. I saw that, but I was hoping that there would be one to clarify exactly what happened.
Well, they had one today that clarified that this guy actually was a lot better. He had a timeline, and he went through the timeline, and in going through the timeline, and I got to give Shimon Prokopez from CNN a lot of credit, man. He pressed him, and the incident commander, the guy who was running the show there, said, no, we're not going in.
We'll treat
this as a hostage situation.
Good.
We'll
Let that
treat
be a
this,
lesson to them.
we'll not do what we're supposed to do, which is to run to the shooter and kill him
Immediately, without hesitation.
without hesitation.
First move is go in.
But and as I told you, as I said the other day when we looked on the town website, for $20.47 an hour that these people are making, it's a pretty tough decision. Do I want to get killed for that much?
You can put cans of beans on the shelf at Trader Joe's and make more money, or you can risk your
Yeah.
life by being by as a result of your training. Say, remember now, Vinnie, when the whip comes down, you have to go in first. Just you. If you're there by yourself, you go in alone. If there's two of you, the both of you go in. If there's three of you, you all go in. But you go in regardless, and you go in immediately.
There were 19 officers in the building. Now, not only that, Michael, but you have several kids on their cell phones calling 911 for help.
And what did they get?
They're telling them where the shooter is, what's going on, risking their life because they're scared out of their pants. And these 19 guys are hanging out in the hall. And nobody wants to go through the door until the gunfire stops.
Now those 19 guys have to shop in that town, have to live in that town, have to drive through that town. It'll never ever forget. They might as well pack up now and just get.
And outside, you have the parents
saying, we'll go in.
Saying, we'll go in, give me your body armor, give me your gun, give me this, give me that, I'll go in. One mother doesn't end while the cop, this is the worst part. While the cops are arresting, putting one of the mothers in handcuffs, people are going around and going into the windows and getting their kids.
Remember, it's the police force, Vinnie. They're not there to help you. They're there to force you. And they will force you to do silly things like that because that's all they can do.
The only reason I can think of, and listen to the Texas Department of Public Safety guy, once he was pressed, to his credit, he admitted it. He said we were wrong.
Of course, you were wrong. All the training now, I wouldn't know this any other way, except I've interviewed a number of sheriffs over the time, and especially in Washington State, where the result of their training is always the same, Vinnie. I'm not making it up. I didn't come to these conclusions. They came to these conclusions through training. And the training is you go in immediately because time has shown them, experience has shown them, school shootings have shown them over and over again. It doesn't get better toward the end of a school shooting. Things don't calm down and someone comes to their senses at the end of a school shooting. It's mayhem from beginning to end, and then somebody dies. The shooter dies, or the cops die, or the kids die, or they all die. But there's no happy ending, and waiting is a nightmare.
And now you have, because this is not the first time this has happened.
No.
You now have people, and here's let me finish this. You now have people, cops, who are, well, I'm not going in there. Happened in Florida. Remember the guy who stayed outside?
The guard who didn't want to get involved.
Right, didn't want to get involved to do what they were paying him to do.
Here, and arming him to do.
You have federal money going to this school district, supposedly. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to conjecture here.
I think
they have a 7-person.
It's also state money.
Yes, federal and state money going to this school district to hire 7 patrol officers for the school district. Yet there was no patrol officer on the scene.
He was somewhere else. We'll find out. One of these days we'll find out that he was down having coffee.
He was, he was playing a little grab ass with some waitress in some coffee shop.
Because as he'll tell you, nothing ever happens in that town.
Right, nothing ever happens here. So once again, the police look like idiots.
And because the cops should have known through the grandmother's phone call that the kid was on his way to the school, armed and dangerous.
And I know that it's easy to say this, Michael. Listen, I don't minimize what these cops have to deal with and what they go through. But if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Let somebody else do it.
And the thing is, Texas relies upon these cops to be their only line of defense because they make sure that there's more guns than there are children. And then their defense is, well, we got guards in every school, armed guards. Who's gonna go up against that? Well, it turns out any 18-year-old kid with no training whatsoever can go up against them and beat them at their own game.
Yeah, an 18-year-old kid held off 12 of your trained officers with guns while he was massacring.
And if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't until the officers used the janitor's key to open the door that they even got in the classroom. They didn't breach the door. They used the key that they had all along to get in the door. Anybody could have opened that door.
Right. They could have had that key 2 minutes after they were in that school.
Well, this lays in a very ugly light the fact that the defense that the state of Texas has been talking about all this time to make themselves feel comfortable is no defense at all.
Yeah.
It does not, just as we expected and just as we imagined, Vinnie, it doesn't exist. There is no defense against this, except the only thing that kid needed was not to have that gun.
Right. That gun should have never, nobody needs a weapon of mass destruction that isn't in the military. The Second Amendment doesn't say that you get a weapon of mass destruction. As a matter of fact, the Second Amendment doesn't even say that you get a gun.
Nope. Armed is what they mentioned.
But that's one that's easily glossed over.
Not for Sam Alito. He says if it's not in the Constitution, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, if it's about abortion.
Well, each and every one of these shootings teaches me over and over again, because I was on the air, I mentioned, for the Sandy Hook shootings, and what we thought we knew that afternoon in Los Angeles, reporting it on the radio, turned out to be quite a bit different story than what we knew the next day. We didn't know the kid had shot his mother. We didn't know we were told that the shooter had left his long gun in the car and only taken in a handgun. That was not right. We were told that the kid had not gone to the school. That was not right. He had. That he wasn't a mental problem, that he was probably a gifted child. Well, no, it was just the opposite. He was a terribly disturbed child who was being kept by his mother at home, away from society, because she knew how dangerous he was. And he had to kill her to be free of that. Just as this kid had to be free of his grandmother before he could do the work that he had set himself to do.
27 words that hold this country hostage.
I'm a Republican. No, that's not enough.
No, 27 words that hold this country, that continually have proven to terrorize, to hold this country hostage, to maim, to kill,
to terrorize,
to create a society where murder, slaughter is normal.
In fact, it is for everyone except for the shooter legal. The gun manufacturer, the state that makes the laws, the federal government that makes the laws, the state regulation on firearms, the control of the sale of firearms, all the people involved are complicit in the murder.
And yet there are people who will stand up and say, well, the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia. Now, right there, right?
Or an 18-year, or an 18-year.
Words. What does that tell you?
Trained.
There need to be regulations. There need to be places that put a hold on what the militia can have. That's a regulated militia. An unregulated militia would be allowed to have any weapon it wanted to.
I thought it said unregulated when I read it the first time. We got it wrong here in Texas.
Yeah, it's a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Nowhere in there does it say you get a gun. And in the first three words, it says that there will be regulations.
Well,
Why
we're gonna have to,
hard?
because we don't read the Constitution. We just flap it around when we hold it up in the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Why is it so hard to read that? Why is it so hard to understand that?
Because it seems as if none of it was written about what we're suffering with today. None of it was written to address what we're going through. We've purposely misread that clause. We've done so for long enough so that it's gotten out of control. And the arms industry, the profit makers, see a profit in death, a good profit, a steady profit, an increasing profit. And the fact is, people who have guns, as they tell you, Vinnie, and you probably have friends who have guns, nobody has one gun. They like to have 3 or 4 or 5 or a gun everywhere that they need one in a panic.
I just get to the point where I just get so disturbed by this, so broken by this, that this continues today.
I think that in the future, press conferences should be, Ted Cruz has to stand in the classroom before they clean it. I want him to stand in the room and smell it all, and then tell me what he really thinks. And if he can come up with the same watery, useless, lying excuses that he comes up with now, then I will give him a standing ovation for effort. He overcame the smell, he overcame the stench, he overcame the death, he overcame the blood, he overcame the carnage, and he lied to us face to face. But to do it backstage at a little gathering with guards around him, no, that's not a comment. That's not reality. That's just Ted Cruz in his element. Put him out of his element. Take him into the element that he's created with his lies and his laws. Put him right there in the room. I want him standing in the blood next time he speaks.
Yeah. Send him in there with a bucket and the Vicks in your nose so you don't smell it. And the industrial strength. Have you ever smelled a cleanup of a shooting? Have you ever been close enough to a shooting to smell one?
I've been close to a couple shootings in LA, but they were outdoors, so there was no smell that I recall.
When I drove a cab in San Francisco, the night line driver of my cab had his throat slit by a woman. Got in a cab, drove him to the Bayview.
So she didn't have a tip.
Cut his throat and killed him.
Thanks for the ride.
And about a week later, they gave me the cab back after it was processed and cleaned, of which I told them, take this, pound it. I'm not driving it. But I got in it. And the minute you open the door, there is a smell. And it must be a combination of what they use to disinfect the car, the fingerprint processing materials, a bunch of other stuff that who knows what they use to process a crime scene. It is I will never forget the smell. There's only one other time I smelled it, as I was at I went to a car dealer once to look at a car, and I opened the door of the car and I smelled it. And I looked at the guy and I said, there was a murder in this car. There was something in this car. Something bad happened in this car. He said, well, it was involved in a bad accident. Somebody got killed in the car and they had to do an investigation.
Never goes away.
The smell never goes away. It absorbs into the fabric of the car. Just like if somebody gets killed on a carpet, it absorbs into the carpet.
Oh yes.
When their bodies let go of the waste that's in their system, when their muscles don't can't get tracked any longer, so everything comes out.
Oh, everything comes out all right.
And then that has to be cleaned up.
Well, this is what they've sort of been looking for in Texas, Vinnie. This is the society that they built for themselves, separate and apart from the rest of the nation. It's a violent society, but you can rely on Texans to do the right thing when the right thing is necessary to be done. Not so much as to save kids, just to make sure the laws that provide us with the guns to kill them stay on the books. That's doing the right thing in Texas. That's why you had called a Texas Ranger. So he comes down in his big white cowboy hat. Did he get any blood on his hat? I hope not. I hope he didn't have to bend over and get any blood on his hat or on his boots. That would besmirch the image that we have of the Texas Rangers. And as for the sheriff who didn't come in time, and the cops who weren't there in order, or the guy who gave the order saying, I got 19 men here, I'm not going in. I think I'll treat this as a picnic. No, not a picnic. What am I saying? A hostage situation. Same thing. And we're conducting negotiations with the shooter. We're yelling through the door, and guess what? He said back. Never said a word. That was the extent of the negotiations. Hi, we're Texans. Inside, nothing.
I hope, Michael, that people stay mad about this. I don't have a lot of faith that they will.
I wonder if we have the truth yet, in terms of
I don't think so. I think they came. You could. I mean, I told you this on Wednesday. You could see them. It was so obvious. You could see him trying to figure out the story.
Yeah.
They weren't going to tell you the truth. That guy that stood up there should be fired. The guy that stood up there yesterday. He should be fired. He should be allowed anywhere near a police car.
But he did manage to say that, Chris Reyes, we're all about telling the truth. We're about getting the facts out and telling you exactly what happened. We're just not there yet.
Say it.
We're not there yet.
The guy literally couldn't speak English.
No, he was a troubled soul. We won't be seeing him anymore. Why did they send him out with no information?
Crap out of him. He's like the district director. I mean, that's probably got to tell you something right there. That clown.
There's your training.
That clown was the district director. He couldn't give anybody an order. And listen, I know we have I know that we have cops that listen to us. And I mean, even if you're a cop, you have to look at that and be embarrassed.
Here's a way not to do it. Here's what not to do.
Oh, this is going to be the case study on what not to do. This is going to be the gold standard. This will be taught in police academies. That press conference yesterday will be shown in police academies coast to coast, probably around the world.
And if you think you can call the SWAT squad in a town of 15,000 and one's going to show up, they have a SWAT squad, but it's made up of firemen and sheriffs from other jurisdictions and cops in town and a few volunteers.
Well, work for Wyatt Earp, right?
All who went for training. By the way, the first rule of that training that the state sent them for, which probably cost $50,000 a man, that's very expensive, was rule number 1, go in. Do not wait. If you're by yourself, you go in alone. That's the rules. Now, those are cruel rules, but it's a cruel situation that you're facing. It's a cruel situation that you've been trained to face. You know what rule number 1 is. Rule number 1 is let's talk about it in the hallway and maybe enter into negotiations with the shooter. No. Rule number 2 is we stand around and treat it as a hostage situation. No. You don't have any rules except rule number 1. And rule number 1 is you go in immediately.
Go to the shooting.
And that does not vary depending on the shooting. It does not vary depending on the situation. Whether it's a post office,
go to the shooting, and you go to where the guns are being fired, and you kill the guy firing the gun.
Period.
And if you have to take one, well, you know what? That's that part about to protect.
Yeah, sorry about that.
On the side of the car, just in case you forget it when you're going out there after roll call, protect and serve.
Yeah, and let's be safe out there, huh?
Yeah, being safe does not mean standing in the hallway ordering out Chinese for lunch. And then on top of that, just the idea that you have these parents out there who are livid that they're not doing anything, and they decide to start to arrest the parents.
That's what we'll do. We are the police force. Let's force some people around here. We've been here 5 minutes. You haven't forced anybody to do anything. We're going to force these mothers and these fathers in anguish to submit to our violence. That's what we're going to force them to do, because we're the police force.
That's what they decided to do, Michael. They decided to put somebody's mother in handcuffs. They decided to tackle some other guy.
Well, that in their mind is their job. Crowd control at a picnic. We can do that. But here's the reason that you guys are in this town. We got a shooting going on. Well, I heard about it, but we're not going in, and neither are you. In fact, you're under arrest for interfering with an investigation. Who's investigating? You certainly haven't investigated anything. Well, I got you, and that's close
The
enough.
hot dogs to come.
Hot dogs are coming. I ordered pastrami, but I think they're sending hot dogs.
What time does the fireman's friend get here? What time does the donut wagon get here?
Because they said there'd be coffee and I could use a cup. I really could. And I don't mean coffee. I mean coffee.
Yeah, I mean, again, listen, I know that there are brave cops. I know that there are, but the textbook is 9/11. You run into the building.
And up the stairs.
And up the stairs. You don't run into the building and stand in the lobby.
Or run halfway up and say, you know, this feels more like a hostage situation than a terrorist attack. Let's just let's take our time.
Yeah,
Let's talk through the door, see if anyone's there, negotiate. Nothing we can do.
Stand here.
There's nothing we could do.
Well, matter of fact, why don't we go over to the second building?
And do nothing over there for a while.
Because we'll be safe there. Nobody could possibly do this.
And these firemen that are running around, tell them to get a grip. Come on, we're not running in that building. Tell those firemen. In fact, if the firemen want to go in, arrest them. Put them in handcuffs for interfering with our investigation. You firemen.
It disserves the memory of anyone who goes into a situation and gives of themselves, their lives, to save somebody, to stop a shooter. It negates their memory. It disgraces them.
Here's a disgrace for you, Vinnie, and I know you've heard a lot about this from personal experience and otherwise. People are leaving California in droves sometimes because it's an expensive state and it's a crowded state and it's a big state. And where do you think they go?
Texas.
They're going to Texas because Texas is so cool. The cops don't help the kids. The kids don't have a prayer in school. The senators can stand in blood and just make any denials that they want and still get elected. The NRA can come to town and have a convention right after a slaughter. And that's the way everything works in Texas. The eyes of Texas are upon you. And,
and you know why houses are less expensive in Texas? Because they pay their police $20.47 an hour.
And they train them
$3,000 a year.
They train them on
dicks.
Yeah.
Slinging hamburgers, I can make more money.
And have more fun at White Castle than you would working in that town. And here's the deal. The eyes of Texas are not on Texas. Where's the Texans' point of view? Everybody from the outside saying, oh, Texas, this, Texas, they can't do that. Texas has got a society that's violent and murderous and can't be stopped and can't be regulated and can't be talked to. And it's gone too far. It's out of hand. There's nowhere we can deal with this. Well, what do they say in Texas? Is Beto O'Rourke is the only person who's going to stand up and say, we have problems too? Is Beto O'Rourke the only one who's going to say, I want my child to live through school? Apparently. Well, the governor's not going to say bupkis, except now he's not going to the NRA meeting. I guess his t-shirt didn't come through. They were going to send me a t-shirt, and if it had caught here on time, I'd have gone, but the t-shirt didn't show up. So I guess that means my invitation's been rescinded.
Yeah, but you know who's going to be speaking there?
If Jiggerman?
No, our illustrious 45th president, Slapdick.
Oh yeah, that's good. I want him to go. I want him to go and muck up. Let him muck it up.
And you know what you can't take into the room when he's speaking?
A microphone?
No, don't. Oh, no, he's never met a microphone he didn't like. No, you can't have a gun.
But the
They won't
Second
let you
Amendment,
bring a gun into the building while he's there.
who's going to protect 45 if I don't? Come on. They need me in there to protect him. We all have to gather around and protect him.
Thousands of children yesterday walked out of school. Here, Washington, Virginia, New York, LA, all over the place, all over the country. Thousands of kids
So it
got
doesn't feel
up
very good. It's not safe in our schools.
and walked out of school yesterday. Assembled on football fields, assembled in front of the school, assembled at the candy store down the block, assembled anywhere that they could that wasn't in school.
Did the Texas cops arrest them for interfering?
No,
with
they
an
were
investigation?
too busy waiting for the tax squad with the shields. That's what they were waiting for. They're waiting for the guys with the shields.
I see. So that's step one in training is don't go in. Step one in training is wait an hour for the guy with the shields.
Well, that's what we got to find out now, which is the right way. I mean, maybe they were doing what they were told. Don't get in trouble.
But who gave that order? Because that order was in stark opposition to the first rule of training.
Evidently, whoever the incident commander was the guy who said, and again, to the head of the DPS, the Texas DPS, I give him credit. He said, hey, we were wrong. And I'm sure that this incident commander will be an incident commander no more. He'll be writing parking tickets on some FM road north of Waco.
Rural delivery.
Yeah, go wait for somebody to park here. Nobody's parked here in 150 years. So when somebody parks here, write him a ticket. You might be able to handle that.
He might turn up on Big Joe's polka party. You might see him there.
You might see him there, although I wouldn't. If I know Big Joe, he'd throw him out too. Although Joe is long gone, but his daughter Melanie, I think her name is. She
Big Melanie.
Big Melanie.
It's funnier than Big Joe, isn't it?
Yeah, Big Joe in itself is funny, but Big Melanie.
Big Melanie, that's a laugh. That's a laugh line. Well, it's good to see you smile, man.
I just, I just.
Well, I tell you, last
so much.
Last night I said I can't watch another hour of parents crying to an anchor, but then something else, another element of the investigation came up, and I was glued to it once again.
Yeah. Well, Mikey, as I was telling my friend last night, we had a long talk, and she was worried about me. She's saying, "Well, listen, it's all you seem to be, engrossed in this." And I said, "Well, I am, because I want to stay mad about this. I don't want there to be a moment in the next couple of days where I say, gee, I don't care about this, so what?"
That was
I
awful.
want other people to be mad with me. I don't want to just be mad by myself. I want people to be mad. I want people to say next Saturday, next Sunday, next whatever, we're going to get together and we're going to go to our representative's office or house or whatever it is. And we're not going to let up on them until they, especially Republicans, because I don't think you need to do it with the Democrats. But I sure do think that your Republicans who refuse to do anything. Oh, excuse me. Wait a minute. Hold it. News bulletin. Mitch McConnell today.
Changed his tie. Did he change his tie?
Mitch McConnell, tasked U.S. Senator John Cornyn of the state of Texas.
Yes, God.
To Ted Cruz's banging buddy. He he tasked him with going over to the Democrats and talking to them about some common sense gun control. You send a guy from Texas.
It just
Says
shows
you
you
don't want anything to happen.
what it is. It's an insult to the very process of negotiations.
You want it to look like you're doing something because you realize, much as after January 6th, Kermit there stood up and said, well, this is all wrong. Donald Trump is, I don't know. But, 2 days later, when, he rescinded all of that, he was ready to go down to the White House that night and pull Trump out and shoot him.
Oh, with a gun?
No. Because Republicans believe in insane gun control.
Yes. Well, that would be sane gun control for a Republican is you put the gun down after you shoot somebody.
Right.
If that's for me, I'm away from my desk.
I should just answer it. Probably Norm Charlton calling me up, telling me how wrong I am. Folks,
yeah.
Folks,
Dear Americans.
Dear Americans. Maybe it's time that you started looking at your products that are produced in Texas, your companies that are in Texas.
Hey, Tesla just moved there, right? Yay, yeah. Tesla, good
maybe
move.
It's time that you stop buying Teslas. Toyota's there too.
I can do without a Toyota. I can certainly do without a Tesla.
Listen, I love the people at Toyota. Don't particularly like the people at Tesla, but I love the people at Toyota. But they also, gave a hell of a lot of money.
They have more than just an image problem. They have
the Republicans.
They have an economic problem now. Yeah, let's make it hurt. Let's make it sting. If these are tough times and people have to make prudent decisions based on the economy, then let's start making them right now. You know how much it cost me to fill my tank yesterday, California style?
Oh, probably $130.
79. It was $5.79 a gallon. $79 to fill it.
Yes, I'm driving the big, what do you call it? The SUV. So they have the 20-gallon tanks.
That's the USS Eisenhower, right?
Yeah, I gotta go take a freaking mortgage out, a second mortgage out to fill a Lexus up. Thank God this week I got a hybrid. Yeah, Michael. I mean, I just again I was talking to my friend last night. Where's the outrage?
Where's something that works? Where in the light of all this tragedy and mayhem and disorder and chaos and hate and racial inequality, where's this freedom we're supposed to have? Where's the quality of life that we're supposed to enjoy? Where's that pursuit of happiness that we were told that we could have? Where is that measured against all of this? Where is it safe to even go? I mean, we're going to go to the store today. And?
Is your kid free to go to school without worrying? Are you free to send your kid to school without worrying if they're going to come home?
Name any parent in the world that's aware of the situation that took their kid to drop them off at school and said, well, that felt good. I'm sure glad I dropped my child off at school. Now I'm driving away and leaving them there. I'm sure that gives them a comforting feeling.
Name anybody in Western New York who's walking into a Top Market today.
I only shop at Tops. When I'm in Buffalo, that's the only place I shop.
It's funny, when I would go up to Lake Chautauqua, that's the only supermarket in town is a Tops. So I know Tops supermarkets. I mean, I've been in quite a few of them up there in Buffalo and in Western New York. It's a great chain. They have an actual Italian deli in them.
But Vinnie, that was last week's shooting, so we're not talking about that anymore.
Right. Excuse me, I forgot.
So let's stay with this week's shooting because we're preparing. I don't know if it's going to come this weekend or Monday or Tuesday of next week, but next week's shooting is being staged, so we don't want to miss on that. We want to get our reporters there in time to ask the parents, and how did it feel when you couldn't get a hold of your child? Well, I called their cell phone. Yeah, but tell me, how did that feel?
You know the sad thing, Michael, is the next shooter is probably watching all of this.
But can we have something more interesting? Because we've had two 18-year-olds and they give shooters a bad name. It's like they're ill-prepared and immature. Can't we have like a middle-aged man who's been angry for a longer time and has a long list? Maybe
Go back to the guy to Vegas, to the guy.
yeah. See, he was prepared. He had a manifesto and the right amount of equipment, and he set himself up so he could kill the maximum amount of people. A little planning wouldn't hurt, okay? A little
Yeah,
planning.
we can certainly go back to him. And we can certainly, and I'm sure that there's a bunch of events coming up this weekend, or we could go to the car show model that they had down in Oklahoma, where some guy just went to a car show and started opening up. There, he got 2 for 1. Not only did he kill people, but he damaged some nice cars.
I was hoping that you weren't going to tell me that. I was hoping the cars got away scot-free.
No, got bullet holes and blood in the cars.
That's gonna
And a bullet hole in a 58 Chevy Biscayne is not the easiest thing in the world to fix.
No, that you need a professional for that. Plus, it's hard to get original parts for a 58 Biscayne.
What do we do, Michael?
You lay low. Wouldn't you, in a situation like this, say, I don't really want to stick my head up today. I think maybe I'll just lay low for another day and see how it works out.
Lay low long enough. We lay low after all of them.
Who's going to come to our aid? You see, when you get a shooting at a school, you can always call the cops. They come, they don't come. So it depends on what town you're in. They help, they don't help. It depends where you are. They help the parents in front of the school, or they arrest the parents in front of the school. You can't say which. It could be one or the other. Be prepared for both. But who do you call the week after that shooting? When people are just afraid and angry, and Donald Trump has come to town to stir up the shit, and your favorite baseball team is losing, and you're frustrated at work, and you can't stand in line at the deli, and your car, it costs too much to fill it with gas, and everywhere you turn, you're just running up against it until one day, what do? You do it the American way, right? For your birthday, you buy your AR-15. Don't get another gun. If you don't get an AR-15, you can't play the game. That's how the game starts. It's like you can't make your own rules and say, I wanted a 22 long hunting rifle. No, you don't. You don't want that at all. You need an AR-15. Now go back and get the right gun.
Yeah, we don't want to sell you a Daisy. What the hell ever happened to the days of Daisy BB guns?
Oh, they got them.
Do they even make them anymore?
Yeah.
Or do you graduate right to a weapon of destruction?
They're called weapons of war, but if you're not fighting a war, it's just a weapon.
Yeah,
if you don't have a war to show up to, just call it a weapon. Hand me my weapon.
You go to machine guns? Do you go to Tommy guns? What do you go to?
Nobody uses the old flashback guns. Nobody has nobody uses a big gun, and nobody has a 50 caliber school shooting. It just doesn't happen. You need something light, mobile, and that sprays the room, because you haven't got a lot of time and you never know when they're coming. So maximum kill, minimum time, a reasonable investment in an AR-15. It's the only way to go if you want to play the American game. And if you have a phony ID, you can be 17. Okay, just so you know.
No, I'm sure they probably don't. Well, you know what? You don't even have to. All you got to do is go to a gun show, right?
If you have the cash, I think you can probably come away with what you need.
Yeah, you probably 12 and go to a gun show. And if you got the right amount of money, somebody's going to hand you a gun.
And where did this kid with no friends, that hardly anybody in town knew, where everybody knows everybody, how did he come up with the money for this on his 18th birthday? Did somebody give him $1,000 for his birthday? And if so,
no, I guess he worked. I guess they had said that he had worked at a fast food place. And yeah, he had worked at a fast food place, and that's where he got a ton of money, enough to buy his guns. I guess he had asked his sister if she would buy him a gun, and she was smart enough not to. You thought that maybe if she thought he was a whack job, she would have called the cops, but it's probably pretty hard to call the cops on your brother.
And he's always been quiet, you know. Still water's running deep, as they do.
It's funny because he hasn't always been quiet. I mean, he's had these
Outbursts.
outbursts, these things where he sent messages on social media. He sent odd, worrisome messages, so it seems.
And did he actually send a message to some unknown kid in Germany as he
Yeah,
was getting
some girl in Germany. I guess he was trying to impress us, saying, "Watch me, I'm going to be a hero.
Look what I can do.
I'll make you famous for 15 or 20 minutes. Not the way you want."
No. And this
You're
will
gonna
probably
have-
be the last time I call you. If I'm lucky, we can talk after jail, but for the most part, I think this will probably be it.
Yeah, you're going to have some German police coming to your door here in the next couple hours.
Maybe they'll arrest the people standing in front of the place.
We'll stand outside for an hour or two before they bust in. Give you plenty of chance to go out the back door. I mean,
So
that's
this
the
is-
kind of shit you see in a movie in the 1930s where the FBI pulls up and Elliot Ness and they all stand outside while the criminals go out the back door and run down the alley, right?
They always get out the back. He got out the back.
He got out the window. Wasn't until the 70s that we saw the trick of sending the one cop around to the back.
That's the one that has to run and get him and from chase him.
Chase him till he can't
chase
climb
him.
the fence.
You go that way, he'll run by a truck. I'll come out and get him sideways like a football tackle.
You watch, I watch The Naked City every once in a while. I used to watch it a lot more, but now I watch The Naked City every one episode, 2 episodes a week. And they always have the guy who, Harry Belliver always is sent around the back because he's the uglier of the 2 cops. So he goes around the back and Harry couldn't climb a fence if it was a picket fence.
And he's not, that first step is he's lost some on his first step. He's not exactly Maury Wills coming out of the box.
Right. But Harry says, you know what? I know how to get you off the fence. Boom. Pop one in your back.
There you go. You're off the fence. Look at that.
Now you're not on the fence anymore.
You got other problems.
Who did he shoot the other night? Oh, they shot, I was watching when they shot Eli Wallach the other night.
I was going to shoot him. Somebody got him?
Somebody got him. Now, if, in real life, that would have prevented him from, going over to the wrong side in The Godfather 3, but.
So we've learned from this event that training in the way that cops are trained all over the country does not work because in the last moment, you still have the option not to go in. We've also learned that the idea of a good guy with a gun stopping a bad guy with a gun is a myth. The good guy with a gun never gets to the bad guy with a gun until the bad guy with a gun has done his work. Then the good guy with a gun comes in, stopping nothing. He puts an end to it, but he doesn't stop anything. He doesn't prevent anything.
Well,
and having a guard at this school, which is supposed to be federal money doing its job, turns out to not work. It hasn't worked at didn't work at the school in Florida, didn't work at this school, hasn't worked at Pass. And there was a guard, by the way, at the market in Buffalo, and he got killed.
Right.
Trying to do his job.
Right.
You can bet those cops in Texas said, the first cop to meet that guy in Buffalo, you know what happened to him, don't you?
Yeah. And because and this is where I really found it interesting, is the initial reports from the cops on the scene said, this kid had a vest.
He had a fishing vest, an ammo vest.
He had an armored vest.
But he didn't.
He didn't have any vest.
No.
He didn't have an armored vest.
Good thing we waited for the guy with the shields.
Turned
out to be the right move. And here's the thing, I didn't have any kids in there, so what was I supposed to do? Pretend I did? Be interested? I wasn't. I was doing the opposite of what I was trained to do.
See, the flaws with all these arguments about gun control, about put a guy into school and all this, the flaw with all of those arguments is you can't depend on them. And this shows it. You can't depend on the person that you are putting in charge to stay at the school 24, all day.
Plus, the school's got half a dozen ways to get in and out, and the gunman all has to do is wait for you to go on your patrol over by the candy counter, and they're in. There's no way
Yeah.
to stop them. You're not going to stop them. The doors aren't locked.
So you so the idea to give a teacher a gun or to give to have these armed officers in every school, well, it's a novel idea. It's not going to work.
No, you got 10 guys from the SWAT squad waiting in the hallway, and you wait for the teacher to take out the shooter because that's her job. Their job is to come in later, take pictures, and lie to the press.
Yeah. Hey, kids, put your head down on the desk for a few minutes. I gotta take this guy out.
It's my job. I got my gun, I got my training, and first guy through that door gets it. Now, if it's the chief of police, it's too bad.
Give the gun. Do they wear the gun? Do they keep it in a locked box inside the classroom?
Too many steps.
How does that person, that teacher, use that gun?
And is the gun been cleaned recently? Does it have a little jelly and some crayon on it today?
Is the principal knocking on the door enough of an excuse to pull the gun out and use it? Because you don't know because you're keeping the door locked and you don't really know who's coming in. You got the window covered up.
And we didn't know that the principal was bringing the mayor with him, so I shot them both.
So I got them both. People.
First time I used the gun, but I'm a pretty good shot.
Accepting less
than
you deserve. And if you deserve anything in life, you deserve your children to go to school with the idea that they're going to be safe. When you drop your children off, you have the right, which I believe supersedes anybody else's right to carry a gun.
And the school district has the responsibility to teach them and keep them safe to the best of their ability.
Otherwise, we just all should homeschool our kids. Build our houses to be fortress, and it's the collapse of society. No more society.
In a large school district like LA Unified School District here in LA County, since the pandemic, 30,000 kids fewer have been going to LA public schools. They've either dropped out or found private schools or found homeschooling or found some alternative means of education. But 30,000 kids and families have turned their back on that system to find something, if not better, at least different. Now, what's going to happen to those 30,000 educated minds? Are they going to be really educated by the time they're 18?
Well, I know some people who've done homeschooling, and they'll tell you that the kids have done much better. Problem is, they don't get the socialization.
Right.
That's so much of a part of growing up. You don't go hang out in the schoolyard. You don't get your ass kicked by somebody in a grade in front of you. And while you say, "Oh, that's a horrible thing to say," it's part of growing up. You learn how to defend yourself. You learn how to not be soft.
Or how to be
everything doesn't go your way all the time.
And how to stay out of situations that don't work for you.
Right. And how to say, you know what, I'm getting out of here.
I got a feeling.
Yeah, something's wrong here. And you learn who's good and who's bad. And in your young life, at some point, you make a decision of who you want to hang out with, right? You
It's easy to make the
greasers, or you want to hang out with the collegiates?
Where's the surfers? Come on, where's the hippies?
You didn't have a lot of surfers in New York. You had hippies. Not a lot of surfers. The Long Island Sound is not your best place to go surfing.
We had surfers, we had greasers, and then they began to fragment. There were how many different kinds of greasers can you have? Well, those that actually know how to work on cars and belong to the car club, and those that just kind of like the taps on their shoes and the car coat.
Yeah. We had hippies, we had greasers.
By the way, can you remember the name of the car club in your neighborhood?
The Jackson Heights Raiders.
I was asking someone about that from Marin County. There used to be a group in Marin County called the Strip Pacers.
Yeah, we had the Jackson Heights Raiders, and then we didn't have as many car clubs as they did. What they had is they had SAC, Social Athletic Clubs.
Oh, that doesn't sound good. That sounds rough.
Yeah, it was. So they had, and it basically was a gang, but everybody had jackets. We were the wino lords.
The wino lords.
The wino lords. That's what we were. But usually you were known by what street you hung on. Like we were, oh yeah, those guys hang out on 83rd Street, or those guys hang out on this street or that street, or 90th Street Park, or 88th Street Park. Matter of fact, if you go on Facebook these days, you'll see like there's a 90th Street Park group. There's of people that used to hang out in that park, or the school. Where do you hang out? I hang out at PS 69. Where do you hang? Oh yeah, I hang out at 145. Oh yeah, 149 up, and but we were always known as 82nd Street. That was the corner that we hung out on, 82nd and 37th, even though many times we got chased off of 82nd and had to hang out on 83rd or 84th or something like that. But that's
So
what we were
the
known as.
wino lords would hang out with the wino lord subdivision, one block
Right.
away.
Right. The wino lords and the wino chicks. But we had the
Ooh.
but we were the wino lords. That was our when
Isn't
we
it
decided
interesting?
to have a name.
You got to have a name.
That's what we came up with, the wino lords.
How romantic.
Yeah, well, we didn't want to use the Wanderers because that was like one of the big movies at the time.
Oh, right. And Dino.
Right.
besides.
Yeah, we didn't want to
I
use
mean, Dion.
the warlords because we weren't
You were more like,
we were into fighting, but we weren't into we were much better lovers than fighters.
so be it.
Yeah, we mixed it up with anybody, but still, we certainly we were much more into into getting high and getting girls.
Isn't it interesting that our old neighborhoods, mine in Marin County, yours in Queens, are safer than a nice verdant town with 15,000 people in Texas, where nobody is safe. Nobody.
Yeah, well, it wasn't always like that. It wasn't, and I wonder I don't think anywhere is safe right now, Mikey. I mean, I turned on the TV this morning and there's a shooting over here and a shooting down the block. I mean, and I live in a good neighborhood and it's like, within a mile, it's like two shootings.
And here comes the
a gas station.
And here comes the weekend, this being a Freaky Friday show of Mikey and Vinnie. And we're waiting for the weekend shootings, which have been every weekend in multiple states, just like clockwork. Friday night with a full moon, you got shootings all over town and all over the nation.
Yeah, it's like, do you really want to go out?
That's because there's 322 million of us, but there's over 420 million guns. So that means, what you want to hang out with your friends? You want to be with your wife? You want to be with your family? You want to be with your pals? Or do you want to be with your gun? You have 5 guns. Let's give them a little attention and love. Let's clean them. Let's load them.
Yeah.
Let's take them down the street and see what happens.
We'll stop at the 7-Eleven and grab one of those masks that have the AK-47 on it on this side and the cross on this side, because it's God and guns, Trump in 2020.
Well, that sounds bitching to me. I'm ready. I'm ready to clean load and follow Donald Trump to the end.
You have the loudest gun and the loudest pickup truck.
So these believers, these true believers, their end game is very much like the 18-year-old shooter in Texas. He's got you. The only way to come out of this is a dead man. There's no future with Donald Trump and president. We know that, but it's going to be a smoky, violent end, and I don't want to miss it.
Well, you know what? I was reading an article in the New York Times this morning that basically said that there are a lot of these militia groups, more than you really think are out there,
That are planning.
And that at some point there's going to be one of these incidents that tip the scales.
That's what they all hope.
And the scales will tip toward certain sections of this country leaving and seceding and saying, you want your guns? Good. You stay there and you have your guns. We in California, we in Washington, we in Oregon, If you want a gun, you're not going to have it. We're going to collect all the guns. We're going to take all the guns.
We gave you an opportunity. We gave you 233 years. You couldn't pull it together. So that's the end of that. That's the end of that.
And you'll split the country. You'll want, it won't be over race. It won't be over money. You'll split the country because of guns.
And of course, these new laws are be laws that the current police force doesn't want to enforce because they're part of the problem. So that means that when it's time to take the guns, we're going to have to use the army, not the police. The police will become our enemy at long last. We'll see it for what they've always been.
Police are that there are police that are against gun control. I mean, why? Why, if you are a cop, would you not want a law that says that these people that want to have guns can't get them? And then you would only have the criminals that sell the guns to work on to get their guns off the street,
And
to
all it
bust
goes,
them. You could take all this time that you're spending busting people for pot, and you could use that time and that effort and those resources to go after criminal gun runners. And you could you could say, hey, if you have an AK-47 or an AR-15 in your possession, you're going to jail for life.
and that's just for starters.
That's all. No big deal. If you have a gun like that, now if you want to give somebody a 22, you want to give somebody a 38 6-shot pistol, you want to make those legal, maybe we can live with that. But anything bigger than that, anything that's going to cut a deer up instead of kill it, you go to jail for life. That's it. We have
Our gun laws about liberty.
where we have to negate guns, where we have to find something different. Go learn how to use a bow and arrow. Make it a little bit more fair.
But train on a wild boar, because there's a if you miss, there's payment to be made.
Yeah. I mean, you can kill somebody. Yeah, you can stand in front of a school and with a quiver and with 20 arrows in it.
Or if you just want to kill somebody, jump in front of a train. That cleans up easier than a lot of other messes.
Yeah, but I read this article and says that that's probably how this is going to wind up. And you know what? I never thought that was reality. I always thought we would find a common ground. But when I look at the people, when I look at Marjorie Taylor Greene winning her primary by a phenomenal amount, when I look at Goshen, who now is running for senator, a guy who led the insurrectionists on a tour of the Capitol building the day on January 5th. When I look at the amount of people who vote for Donald Trump, I say to myself, maybe we're just too far gone. Maybe we've just let it, maybe there's half of people in this country that are just whacked out.
What did Pogo said? We've met the enemy and we is it, or it is us, or we are it. And that's
we have met the enemy and we are them.
That's who we are. That's who we are. We are the enemy. We're the enemy of freedom. We're the enemy of peace and tranquility. We're the enemy of education. We're the enemy of science. We're the enemy of going ahead with what we know is right. We're the enemy, but we're the friend to violence, to murder, to guns, to hate, to derisive politics, to lying senators, to people who stand in the way of progress, intentionally taking the country in the wrong direction for fun and profit and corporate power.
Well, we have Today is May
26th?
26th.
No, 27th, Friday the 27th.
Okay, so we got June, July, August, September, October,
The hot months.
and then what is it? 5 days into November,
We got to the World Series.
and in that time, we have the opportunity to make some change. We have the opportunity to vote people in who will have looked you in the eye and say, if I get to the Senate, if I get to Congress, I will vote for change.
And I think, Vinnie, that we can count on the female vote like never before, as their personal reproductive rights are being taken away and their children's lives are being threatened in the very schools that they're supposed to be safe. Those two things, you've heard of the mama bear syndrome, right? Don't stand between a mother bear and her child and her cub. Well, that's what this country's done. It's standing squarely between the women of America and what they trust and value most.
And you have an opportunity to rebuke the Joe Manchins and the people in the world who operate under the guise of Democrat, but yet a more Republican than Richard Nixon.
Than Murkowski.
Now, you know what, I can't say, because Nixon was actually more of a Democrat than he was a Republican in reality. He was just crazy.
By comparison, yes.
By comparison to what we see today. But I think it's our final opportunity. I think if this thing, if you wind up with a Republican House and a Republican Senate,
then you're going to see the war that you've been waiting for.
Then it's time to buy your ticket. Thank you, but I've seen this show, and I'd like to go someplace that's going to have a happy ending.
I don't like the way it ends. I've already seen enough to know that it's not going to end happily.
I've seen this, and let me tell you something. They have a lot better shows than a lot of other places.
And who are we fooling? We were born in revolution. We were educated in civil war. We've allowed every form of hate and destruction and murder and legalized it across the country. We've decided that what we are is a violent, angry place with enemies everywhere, especially within our own ranks. And we're going to do something about it. We're going to finally make ourselves great again.
Well, this is great, man. Mikey, I want to, before we go, just remind everybody it's Memorial Day this weekend. If you go someplace, you're going to pay more for it than ever. Gas, even with adjusted for inflation, is ridiculous. Maybe it's a good time to stay home. Yeah. Gather your family around the barbecue in the backyard.
Have a cookout.
Grill some hot dogs, and smile at people and connect with your family.
And it's the only time I eat potato salad, so please have some potato salad. We'll put a little hot sauce on top.
Yeah, don't get that Reeser stuff though. Go find yourself a good deli
and get some real potato salad.
Get some real good potato salad, not stuff that comes out. It's been manufactured in Cathcart, Illinois.
That's not going to help.
9 months ago.
It's not going to help the potatoes. It's not going to help you. Get some real potato salad.
And put some bacon bits on top of it, a little mustard in it.
Yes. I say yes to all that.
And you got yourself, and even my favorite is the potato and egg salad.
See, a variation already that's better than the original.
And you can actually have it for breakfast because it's got your potatoes, it's got your eggs, and it's got your bacon.
I like the fact that it's my bacon. What are you eating there? I'm eating my bacon. Is that your bacon? Yeah, I'm eating your bacon. No, that's my bacon. No, I'm eating my bacon, but I'm calling it your bacon.
You use that, and I think that that's a great meal right there. That's what you call a picnic meal. Throw a couple of hot dogs on the grill or a couple of burgers.
I know, however surreal the world gets, you keep track of your team. You know what the final score was? If I'd say 9-3, you know what I'm talking about?
I did not keep track of my team last night.
Giants beat him 9-3 with home runs by Evan Longoria. He hit 2. Jock Peterson, who came over from the Dodgers to play with us now. And even Mike Yastrzemski has learned how to hit the ball. and he hit it out of the park. So 9-3 the final. Thank you, New York Mets, for letting me have some pleasure in the evening. And also, I wish luck to Colin Kaepernick. I don't know what your workout with the Raiders was like, but that's the team for you. Play and win.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting because they hit, what did they hit? Like 2 home runs off of the Mets pitcher in like the first inning or something like that. I mean, it
Yeah,
was,
they
you
had
know,
five
and I
runs,
turned it on and it was, 9-0 or 9-1.
five runs in the first inning.
Yeah, and then 4 like in the second, and then it was nothing after that.
They were tired.
That was all they needed.
And somebody forgot to order the post-game meal, so they knew there weren't going to be sandwiches. So they kind of fell into a funk.
Well, not for nothing, but you can just dial Uber Eats and they'll bring your post-game meal.
But the clubhouse guy, he didn't think of that. He thought it would all catch up with him, and it did finally.
Could have sent out across the street. There's was that Irish bar across the street. Could have sent out.
His mistake was saying something about it. They should have said, "I don't see any sandwiches. Or we're gonna have sandwiches after the game." And he'll go, "Oh yeah, man, you're gonna have sandwiches, but you all got to keep hitting."
No, he should have said, "We're going to do something really cool. We're going to take you all out to Round Table Pizza over on 16th and Potrero,
and it's good eating.
We're gonna sit there in our uniforms and eat pizza."
What do they eat in Uvalde, Texas? You go to a what? You go to a burger place if you're lucky, maybe Applebee's.
Yeah, I didn't look close enough into Uvalde to see what the restaurant situation is there. Somebody's making some money though. I mean, I tell you what, if I had a food truck, I'd be heading there. There's a lot of reporters there that need to eat.
Good point. Yes, indeed.
If I was in San Antonio and I had a food truck, I'd be putting that thing in gear and heading on over to Uvalde and start selling hot dogs or something.
I think this is a wonderful opportunity for someone to start selling AR-15s there on the sidewalk because everyone's going to need one. That's pretty clear.
Yeah. So besides that, remember the people who sacrificed for our freedom.
Who had to go in when they didn't want to go in. They didn't have the option to stay in the hallway and let the kids be shot. They had to go in.
Could you imagine that if they're going on to Omaha Beach
or Okinawa,
and there's 15 of them standing around going, I don't know.
I don't know. I think
they're not paying.
Sarge, I thought we were attacking. Yeah, I did too, but now it's a hostage situation, so we're going to hang. Anybody you smoke them if you got them.
Yeah, the Japanese guys are holding the entire Philippines hostage, so we're just going to wait till that's over.
We're going to wait that one out and see how it fleshes out.
We're trying to kill those guys so that we can get the Philippines back.
It was never made clear to me why we had to wait.
What an absolute joke! What a joke! Well, you know what? God bless the parents of those kids. And, I'm usually one of those people who say, hey, Memorial Day is for remember soldiers. These kids were innocent little kids that were waiting for the last day of school.
You know how that feels, that last day of school, that sense of freedom.
Yeah. Talk about freedom. Who do I see about that freedom?
Mitch McConnell is not taking any calls, and Ted Cruz is away from his desk. So does that help you?
No, doesn't help me at all. It doesn't free me. I think I might need psychological help to free me.
Neither Don McLean nor Larry Gatlin are going to perform as previously arranged at the NRA convention. They were gonna sing their little hearts out.
Don McLean was?
Don McLean canceled.
Wow.
Larry Gatlin of the Gatlin brothers canceled.
Yeah.
Although he says he's a member of the NRA, he just thinks it's too soon.
Well, yeah. I mean, they should have shut the whole damn thing down.
It's a fun party. It's a fun party of gun shooters.
And no politician should have gone there. I don't care if it's Trump or I don't care who it is.
You think Trump will find a way to get out?
No, I think he'll go because because they'll give him a hand.
But it's a video appearance, right?
Still, they'll give him a hand. They'll love him. That's his base. If he doesn't pander to them, he's got nobody. because the average person that he's been pandering to is starting to see
And he can't deliver the votes.
that he not only can't deliver the votes, but the people that he supports are the worst possible people for them.
They are scoundrels, every one.
The people he supports, the people he wants to put into office, are people are the evildoers, as George W. used to say.
Evildoers.
The evildoers, the people who want to take over the country
In an
the
evil
people
way.
who
And
think that you should just shut your mouth and go to work.
shut up, buy a gun, go to work.
Yeah, and I think that there's a certain amount of people in this country who are getting hip to that. Too late.
How would you like to be the cop who was standing in front of that school while the parents said, "Give me your gun and give me your vest. I'll go in if you won't." And it's plain that you won't. And his solution to that was, "You're under arrest. I'm not taking that from you. I'm protecting the school from what? From parents? From no. From
I
the shooter.
wouldn't
You're
want
not
to
protecting,
be-
you're not protecting the school from anybody. In fact, we need protection from you."
I wouldn't want to be any of those cops. I wouldn't want to be any of those parents. And I certainly wouldn't want to be any of those kids. I pray for the kids, for their souls. I pray for the parents for peace. And I pray for the cops.
Everybody that lived through it is going to be marked forever.
Yeah, because it could, no matter what you say about they stayed out in the hall, this, that, the other thing, it could not have been easy. I don't know if I'd have the nerve to do it, to go into that room and see those kids. And what everybody has said is it was horrific.
It had to be.
You know, those bullets that
They
come
are
out of that
destroyed.
gun explode in people's bodies. It's not that it just goes in and stays there.
Not anymore.
There had to be body parts all over the place.
It might still be there.
Yeah. All right, Mikey. Listen, have a good weekend. We'll have drive time tomorrow morning at 8:00, and we'll have a live report from Indianapolis, where the 500 is going to be run this Sunday.
How many laps do you think they're going to do?
500 probably.
About 500?
No, I think it's less than that. I think a lap is a mile and yeah, I think it's probably three. I don't know. I forget what the.
Well, you know what they
Mine
sing
is-
before that? They always sing before the show, before the race. If I miss the train I'm on, you'll know that I'm gone. I'll be gone 500 miles before you're gone, before you wake, before you're aware. So if I sleep through this, 500 miles will be gone, and somebody will have won the race, and I'll just be waking up.
Well, I don't know who sings it now, but that used to be Jim Neighbors' job.
Oh no! Oh God!
Yeah. Jim Neighbors used to sing "My Sweet Home Indiana," whatever the song is,
Herb Schreiner's
every
theme
year.
song. It's called Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like they sing my Kentucky, my old Kentucky home at the Kentucky Derby, they sing the Indiana song.
The Kerwood Derby. That's the one I want to go to.
The Kerwood Derby. I want to go to the Durwood Kirby.
And so you shall.
I want to put a cup. I want to put a.
You've always had the power to go to the Durwood Kirby. Just click your heels together and say, "I want to go to the Durwood Kirby. I want to go to the Durwood Kirby."
If you go to the Durwood Kirby, they give you a souvenir cocktail glass, and then you walk over. You just put it on Gary Moore's head.
And that passes for comedy.
And that's Welcome to the Gary Moore Show with our guest stars Dom DeLuise, Dorothy Provine, and of course Cal Burnett.
And what was I going to say? That passes for shtick.
It has to. It's all I got
1950 shtick. Have a good weekend, Vinny. I'll talk
All
to
right,
you
Mikey. You too.
on a manic Monday.
I will see you on Monday, man. Let's pray nobody gets shot this weekend.
Boy, if the creek don't rise.
All right, man. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine.
What a wine.